So we have a little short video to show at the beginning of this, just to kind of overview of what we're exactly trying to put forward for the company and what we want to do really, and like the definition of it.
Our planet isn't in good shape. Currently, we are using the resources of 1.5 planets. Make that 2.5 if everyone was living by European standards, 4 if we were all Americans, and even worse, studies conclude that we've crossed several of 9 planetary boundaries that are necessary for a safe and sustainable life. We want to ask, how can companies and corporations foster sustainable development? What is true business sustainability that helps overcome society's long-term problems? Business and sustainability? That doesn't go together. Yep, that's what the traditional economic paradigm preaches. The business of business is business, the American economist Milton Friedman once said. Only economic concerns like turnover, profit, market share, or shareholder value matter. Societal or ecological concerns mustn't distract private companies. That's what the government is for. We call this approach Business Sustainability 0.0. Jack Welch was a prominent advocate of this traditional model. As CEO of General Electric, he measured everything in terms of shareholder value. Neutron Jack laid off tens of thousands of employees and was widely admired and celebrated for his economic success. So how does sustainability enter the world of business? What role does it play there? In the first phase of business sustainability, companies react to social and ecological concerns. Economic objectives, however, remain the only priority. They just recognize that sustainability management may help them save costs, reduce risks, improve their attractiveness as an employer, and differentiate themselves from their nasty competitors. Sustainability management is all about managing the chances and risks that stem from economic, ecological, and social chances issues. And yes, that's where most companies are today, on the level of Business Sustainability 1.0, also called a refined shareholder value management. Sustainability as a means to an end, the end being economic success. A good example for this is Walmart, the world's largest retailer. Its sustainability strategy focuses on reducing things: energy, water, packaging materials, and transport routes, which fits perfectly well into Walmart's strategy. Everyday low prices. In the second phase of sustainability management, companies rethink their one-sided goal of profit maximization and pursue a triple bottom line approach. Value creation now goes beyond shareholders. Business is not only about economic, but also about environmental and social goals. In order to achieve these goals, organizations implement sustainability strategies and plans, using sustainability management systems and proper reporting. This is Business Sustainability 2.0. The organization embeds the triple bottom line in its structure and defines and implements responsibilities and programs accordingly. For example, in 2010, Unilever, a fast-moving consumer goods giant, launched its Sustainable Living Plan. Its ambitious goals for 2020 include doubling of sales, while cutting its environmental footprint in half and improving living conditions of millions of people along its supply chains. Time for a quick recap. There are 3 levels of business sustainability. Traditional management does not include social and economic sustainability. It's all about the shareholders. In Business Sustainability 1.0, social and environmental concerns are means to an end, the end being economic success. We call it refined shareholder value management. Business Sustainability 2.0 takes it up a notch by assuming a triple bottom line that includes not only economic, but also environmental and social goals. All 3 approaches share an inside-out view. How can companies avoid negative side effects? Of course, this is important, yet it doesn't go far enough. True Business Sustainability 3.0 isn't about reducing negative effects, but about creating positive ones. It is about active contributions to the world's sustainability problems, which requires shifting from inside out to outside in thinking. First, look at the challenges out there, and then start addressing them using your own resources. Particularly startups and social businesses see these challenges as opportunities. They address societal and ecological issues without forgetting that at some point they have to become profitable and self-sufficient. Among the bigger and more established companies, only a few companies have renewed their business models by shifting from inside out to outside in thinking. One example is SV Group, a provider of catering services for companies in Switzerland. Together with Worldwide Fund, it has recently launched 12we, a new food program that helps clients provide healthy food to their employees and reduce their carbon footprint at the same time. With this program, SV Group directly addresses the sustainability issue, climate change, by making it an integral part of its offering. A second example is IKEA, a Swedish furniture giant. Through its foundation and in collaboration with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, it has developed an emergency refugee shelter that costs only 1,000 euros per piece, weighs 100 kilograms, and provides shelter for 5 people on 17.5 square meters. It is foldable, easy to transport, and already in use in Iraq, Ethiopia, and Syria, and parts of Europe. The challenges society faces are manifold and span across many fields: nutrition, energy, mobility, economy, and agriculture, to name a few. Solution-driven approaches not only require different business models, but also new forms of collaboration. Collaboration within supply chains, across industries, between private, public, and non-governmental actors, ultimately transforming the rules of the game. It may come as a surprise, but true business sustainability isn't such a new idea. Management guru Peter Drucker pointed out, every single social and global issue of our day is a business opportunity in disguise. Let's have a look at history. Corporations like Nestle or Unilever only came into existence because their founders set out to address pressing societal matters, such as infant mortality in Switzerland and hygienic problems in Victorian England. Which is why returning to the original purpose of business wouldn't hurt. We must directly link the sustainability goals of companies with the sustainability challenges of the world. Then we'll be talking about true business sustainability.
Good. All right, so we kind of wanted to just show that video as a little overview of what we're going to be talking about today and what we believe will increase shareholder value for our company. So, as a corporation, our goal is to maximize shareholder value and to ultimately maximize the amount of money going into the shareholders' pockets. The board of directors should never have to prioritize maximizing profit or sustainability. Latham and Watkins recently stated that recent studies show that if there is a positive correlation between a company and a company's adoption to sustainability policies and its outperformance of counterparts over the long-term stock value market and financial performance. So it is kind of daunting to think about how can you be sustainable and also be profitable, but I'm actually going to say how it's quite the opposite. So according to US SIF International, the Forum for Sustainable and Responsible Investment, SRI investment increased more than 33% to total $8.72 trillion in assets just from 2014 to 2016 alone. So what does it really mean to be responsible and sustainable? Well, sustainable investors aim for strong financial performance, but also they believe that these investments should be used to contribute to advances in social, environmental, and governance practices. They may seek out investments such as community development loan funds or clean tech portfolios that likely provide important societal and environmental benefits. So overall, just as what I just stated, in just 2 years alone, after the SRI corporation did adopt these practices, their assets increased twofold. So not only does it increase profits, but it also manages risks. And as the video stated, it's just being a responsible investor is to invest in companies that do have an idea of where they lie sustainably and just environmentally in general. So investors review the ESG, which is the environmental, social, and governance criteria of when they're trying to decide in which companies they want to invest in. And overall, it's just a smart idea to invest in a company that has like a plan for dealing with future challenges that may arise. And according to the Harvard Business Review, it says that the fastest growing cause for shareholders is sustainability, and the method through which activists work now have a large part to do with the social and environmental issues. The amount of these changes have drastically increased over the past 5 years. Political spending, climate change, diversity, and human rights all are a part of this change. So again, they say that we have also found that the targeted firms experience changes in market valuation when filing shareholder proposals when they did adopt these sustainable practices. And something that I just thought was interesting as I was just kind of thinking about this, but as a result of the 2008 the housing market crash, banks began to realize how much they had an impact on just society in general. So after that, like inevitably, banks became more focused on their footprint on society. So I just think it's just interesting that after such a terrible thing, that banks actually did realize that we do owe something to society and that we do have to keep the environment, just good practices within our corporation. So something that I actually found was that Gen Zs are actually 94% of Gen Z consumers believe that companies should address the ESG issues, which is the environmental, social, and governance issues. 87% of millennials believe that companies should do this, and 86% of the general population. So as younger people are getting older and they're more likely to invest their money into corporations, I think that we should absolutely look at that younger generation and how much they do value the importance of the environmental and sustainability issues, because they're more likely to invest in companies that do go hand in hand with their values. According to the Bank of America Merrill Lynch, corporate transparency is now extremely mainstream, and almost 85% of companies in the S&P 500 index published sustainability or corporate responsibility reports in 2017. And for those of you who don't know what the S&P 500 index is, it's a basket of 500 of the largest U.S. stocks weighted by market capitalization. So these extremely profitable and extremely large companies have invested in just wholesome practices and just looking at sustainability and corporate responsibility. And not only is it profitable, and not only is it's just a good idea, because as the younger generations are more favorable of it, but it also is our credible sustainability leaders are hot prospects for acquisition and capital investment. So mergers and acquisitions of major traditional companies look to align themselves with sustainably focused businesses. So again, in the long run, it just makes sense to line our corporation up with that is going to be profitable. And that's kind of all I have right now.
So I'm going to talk about ways that corporations can adopt the environmentally sustainable practices just in the everyday workplace and within factories and larger corporations. And just about every corporation, every business place can take on the next few I'm about to say. So many corporations are everything's you go to work and you go on a computer for 8 hours or whatever, and just you can do that from home very easily. So believe it or not, working from home works very well. As it turns out, employees are more productive and happier when working remotely, and then plus telecommuting is greatly benefits the environment. It reduces the need for office space, let alone office supplies, and the remote workers don't have to drive their cars every single day to work. So everybody that's driving like 30, 45 minutes to a giant office building, there's a huge parking lot, and they're always filled up with a bunch of cars. So all those people had to drive to work every single day just to sit at a desk and go on a computer, when you can easily do that at home. And then if you need to talk to somebody at work, like everybody's got a cell phone and is able to FaceTime or talk on the phone. According to an infographic from Cisco WebEx, if people with remote compatible jobs work remotely only 50% of the time, we could cut 54 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions, effectively removing 10 million cars from the road each year. And then also, even if there is like a situation where you have to drive to work, you're almost always working with other people. And a lot of the times you're working, or you live in like similar areas, so you can always coordinate a carpool with like 3 or 4 people, and that would reduce 2 cars from driving to work every single day as well. It's not always easy to cut back on energy consumption, but an easy way to help the environment is to make sure that the energy you do use is clean. Installing solar panels at the office is a simple and effective way of reducing greenhouse gas and emissions. It may not always be the cheapest option though, but very large corporations would definitely have the amount of money with their giant skyscrapers and stuff to incorporate solar panels to help create reusable energy that the company would use themselves, and would save them money in the long run. In the past 5 years, the soft cost of solar panels installations have reduced by 70%, meaning it's cheaper than ever for companies to use solar power to their advantage. Many companies are also still using a lot of paper. The average office worker uses 10,000 sheets of paper every single year. That's a huge amount of waste, and it's inevitable. Not all the paper will get recycled. Why not just cut paper out of the equation altogether? So many people are doing things on the computer, like I said now, instead of just printing out many things and just handing it to somebody when it's just gonna get thrown out. Nothing's safe forever. You might as well send an email, create a Word document, and send it to them, and then that way you'll also have it forever. It's pretty hard to lose something on a computer, and you're not gonna throw it away and create more waste. That doesn't excuse the need for recycling, however. 50 million tons of e-waste or retired or broken electronics are created every year, and only 15% that ever get recycled. Entering a buyback or trade-in program for used or broken appliances and hardware is an easy way to alleviate the amount of waste a company produces. And also, reducing the energy consumption of a company as a whole is also a great way to help protect the environment and reduce what we're intaking. It's inevitable, every business has to consume power, turn on lights, do all of that. It's impossible to not consume any energy. But encouraging employees to minimize waste by reducing unnecessary printing, turning lights off in rooms that are not being used, bringing their own mugs and reusable water bottles from home. Incorporating motion sensors for lights to reduce the usage when rooms are unoccupied is a simple, easy way to help reduce the energy consumption of a building, and it doesn't even you don't even have to press it or anything. It does it itself, so it's really just a no-brainer. You don't have to worry about people forgetting to turn on the lights or something. It'll do it itself. And there's no denying we're entering a digital era, yet the use of paper in your business is inevitable, particularly if you're sending out letters and direct mail, which require envelopes. Make the easy switch to eco-friendly envelopes and envelopes which are reusable. Reusable envelopes reduce costs on the envelopes spent and acquisition expenses by eliminating the need for a supply-reply envelope in your mailings. They simply reverse. You can save on operating costs, cut warehouse needs, and reduce waste. Benefits both you and your customers can appreciate. If your company deals in high volumes and is ordering 500K or more requiring envelope printing, it's simple to procure from a company that can responsibly deliver on your request by considering the impact a high volume order can have on the environment. And then also, every single office, every single building really has furniture in it. Over 17 billion pounds of office furniture and equipment in the U.S. is sent to a landfill every year. This waste, typically resulting of necessary changes from moving, branch closures, or refurbishing projects, poses a significant problem since the materials should not be going into the landfill in the first place. For example, a typical desk chair is made of dozens of different materials and chemicals. Since most furniture and equipment is also made of wood, metal, and plastic, and has a long lifetime, the products can be effectively repurposed. These materials are also considered scarce resources and hazardous if not disposed of properly, meaning the recycling or repurposing should be the first option. Along with just the many simple changes that every office can take on, there's ways like in the video that they stated how incorporating environmental needs into the business plan is one of the end goals, along right next to profit, making sure they're hand in hand and just creating the best ways possible. And then I have a little video of an example of how Coca-Cola is incorporating these things into their business plan as well.
Our aspiration is really to think in terms of future generations. We want them to have a safe and sustainable water supply. So our goal is to replenish 100% of the water we use in our products and their production.
I'm John Radke. I lead our water sustainability program for North America. When you think about it, water is really important to Coca-Cola. It's the main ingredient in virtually everything that we make. It's also an important component to our agricultural ingredients that go with our products. When we look across the globe, we have growing populations. This really puts a lot of pressure and an increased demand on water supplies. That's why we're intently focused on being good water stewards. We do that through a wide variety of projects. Most of them are around restoring and protecting watersheds or water resources. Maybe it's connecting floodplains to streams. It might be working with farmers or growers to implement better irrigation best management practices. It's a night and day difference between the before picture and the after picture.
I'm Nicole Smith. I'm a sustainability manager for Coca-Cola North America. Today we got to do a little tour of College Park. They're always on the very front line of trying to save water and energy. They actually have a water reclaim system. It refilters any of the water that goes through the water purification system, and that goes to cooling towers, to the boilers. We also got conveyor belt systems that are all dry lube now. It's no longer utilizing water. Throughout all those initiatives, we've been able to actually divert 7 billion gallons of water, which is incredible. Sustainability is a journey. We're really spreading new messages about what sustainability looks like, not just for today, but even 20 years from now.
So just like Coca-Cola, every company should be incorporating, like how they're trying to equal out the amount of water they're taking out of the world, and they're trying to create that equal and opposite to that, and by trying to create more water in the world, like with farmers and reducing the consumption of water.
And something that I thought was interesting in that video is that they mentioned how it's all about the long run. In the long run, they want to look for future generations, and that, why shouldn't we? We should all be focused on what's going to be happening in the next 5, 10, 15 years rather than what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, it's good to think about tomorrow, but it's also extremely important to think about what's going to happen in 10 years and trying to be the most profitable and the most successful company that we can be. So you have to start now. You can't just put it off, keep putting it off, because it is going to take a while to implement these things. So
yeah, like in the
start
first
now.
video, the outside, changing from the outside in to the inside out approach, just to give back to the environment instead of taking away from it.
Okay, so kind of to wrap things up here, I think we've officially proved that, companies don't have to make the choice of either maximizing profit or maximizing their environmental sustainability, when they can actually, there are such easy ways to adopt these practices, such as working from home, the reusable energy, or be going paperless, which is already kind of a thing that's happening everywhere. And
And it's more profitable.
yeah, true.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of the situations are win-win situations, so it's why not? There's no reason not to.
Okay, that's it.
Wait, I clapped myself.
Okay, I got $100,000 to invest. I'm wondering if this place is going in the right direction. I don't know. Before I dump that kind of capital into this company, I'm going to listen to the other side. very important points to be made here. Did anybody pick up on the fact that IKEA, though, is building all these shelters, and that's a good thing? The landfill is filling up with cheap furniture.
Yeah.
I just throwing that out for consideration. Okay.
Can we ask some questions, like follow-up questions on some of the stuff they said?
Yeah, go ahead, although I hadn't planned on question asking at this time.
I just
We've been
wanted to
burning
kind
these
of like
questions.
get a better idea. Well, you said something about the banking. I was kind of shaky on your example. I didn't really quite understand it.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't think I really explained it well because I was nervous. But it was on Bank of America's website where I found this little blurb, and I thought it was just interesting. It's just, as a result of the 2008 housing market crash, banks began to realize how much like an impact they have on other people, just like after this huge devastation of the market crash, how it was just a domino effect and how it affected so many different things, how they began, how stakeholders of these large banks began taking notice, how they want to invest in companies that they think is going to be inevitably profitable and inevitably like just good for society as a whole, not just their bank. So
And
I
then,
just thought it was interesting.
question for you for the solar panels. You talked about the remote workers. Like there's other aspects to it, like with having the remote workers, I get it, you know, you don't have them driving and stuff, but would the productivity be the same? Like how would you manage that?
From what I read, the productivity did stay the same. I think people are obviously happier when they're at home. They can stay with their kids, their dogs, their spouses, whomever.
They're also more distracted too.
But there still is, like in most companies, there's like, you had to do like a certain something by a certain time. They still have those same deadlines and they'll be able to work their own hours, but it still has to be done in the end. And according to what I read, it did get done in the end.
I mean, they may have deadlines and minimums, but at work they may be more productive. They finish their work faster, get more done. They can do a little bit extra.
That's a fair point, but I just think it's, for whatever companies it works for, it works for. If it doesn't work for them, they don't have to do it. They can incorporate some of the other things I was saying, like the carpooling and stuff. It doesn't have to
And then with
always be one of them.
With the solar panels, you talked about that. I think it's a good idea, but I mean, do you have any idea like what they cost or the installation or the maintenance? Like, would the money that we're saving on energy for the solar panels? I know the energy companies will give you a discount and stuff, but would the money, you know, end up being positive with all the maintenance, installation, and everything? The solar panels on the skyscraper, there's wind, there's storms, there's lightning. Like, hey, you're trying to be more environmentally friendly, but you end up spending more money on the material.
From what I was researching, I didn't get like exact prices or installation prices or whatever, but what it did say in the past 5 years, the soft costs of solar panel installations have been reduced by 70%. So no matter what they were, they're cheaper now. And
It's a valid point though.
Yeah.
Installation is expensive.
yeah,
And
but the point would be to have it like, once you install it, it's like, it's there forever.
Mhm.
You have like small upkeep costs or whatever, but once it's there, it's gonna earn its keep from then on out.
Yeah.
So whatever the cost would be, it's
Like
gonna make
in
it
the long
up.
run, if they do like end up paying for itself, I mean, it's a smart investment, I think. But I
Mhm.
mean, that.
Yeah, it
that
just
would-
depend on
that
like
would
the
be
size
a
of
little
it.
more research, I think.
It'd be like all just like individual cases, like
Then-
some companies it could work great for, others it'd be like a bad investment.
You want to do eco-friendly, or PR, obviously, is probably number one, and, you know, being good to the environment. But like, you talked about the eco-friendly envelopes. Like, I just did a quick Google search to see how much they cost. I think for like 150 envelopes, it's like almost $40 for like decent sized envelopes, whereas the other one is $8. So I get it, you're being more eco-friendly in that aspect, but that's gonna cost, how many envelopes you use in a year, it's gonna cost a ton more.
Well, the reusable ones, they can be used twice, like it was kind of real small,
If I send it
they
out,
turn it inside out.
Are they giving it back to me?
It just like depends, those people, like they get it, they can
Yeah.
use it then, because
Okay.
they'll be able to turn it inside out, so it's, still can be used again. And like, it was like partnering with like companies that send stuff to each other regularly, they can like coordinate together and be like, we'll use these eco-friendly envelopes and we'll know to save them and be able to flip them out and reuse them again.
Yeah. Sorry for hassling you.
No,
I might
it's
do
okay.
something
Glad
else
you
here
did.
too.
Open up the time for us.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Did anybody else have any questions?
You guys did a good job.
Very good, outstanding job. I can see you had your burning questions, you just had to.
Yeah, I did. Well, I wanted to understand what their take on it was.
Yeah.
And what about the bank thing? What I was trying to say is that it's all about just trust between shareholders and the companies and those who are making these decisions.
Yeah.
So it's just, you need to form that trust between these people who are investing. Again, like if you have $100,000 to invest, you want to be able to trust who you're giving your money to.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to gain that trust back from these practices.
Yeah, I like the videos, like, I see what Coke's doing, but I mean, Coke's one of the biggest corporations in the world. I mean, if you have a regular size company, that might be too expensive
Yeah.
to do stuff like that. But
It's all about like setting the example.
no, I get it, and in the long run, all companies are gonna be more sustainable. This government's gonna be cracking down more, it's just smarter in the future. So I get what you're saying, but like I said, the costs and the rewards sometimes for certain things are hard.
I just saw you guys.
I listen to a business podcast all the time, so I'm always hearing about this stuff.
Very sensitive students on social sustainability. Good work.